AskReddit by Puzzled Painter 3301. What's a sign that someone grew up poor? Never replacing anything unless there's absolutely no way to use the old thing anymore, and going to absurd lengths to keep something still usable. Never buying clothing at full price. It just feels illegal. No one should do that, poor or not. Full priced clothes are always a ripoff. Odd hoarding behaviors of things you probably should have gotten rid of out of fear you won't be able to replace them easily. I keep a stack of boxes broken down because there's still this fear in the back of my mind that I'll have to move again at a moment's notice. I make a decent salary now and have lived where I am for nearly 7 years, but I still can't part with those boxes despite the space they take up. Under the bed, behind the chest of drawers, yeah, I still have them. I have a box from our Christmas party at work under my desk, and one of the other ladies asked me today why I still had it. All I could say was, it's a good box. Scanning the menu for the cheapest options possible when at a restaurant. It's okay, the soup is really enough for me. I was invited to go to Disney World with my best friend in high school. I did that for the first part of the week in every restaurant we went to, usually ordering a cheeseburger while my friend and his parents were ordering big ass steaks and all sorts of seafood. My friend's dad stopped me when we were walking back to the hotel and asked if I was a picky eater. I told him no. He asked why I kept ordering the same thing every time we went out. I said, well, that's what I usually order when I go out to eat, and didn't want to order anything more expensive because it wasn't my money. He kinda chuckled, assured me that he wasn't going to run out of money, and permanently banned me from ordering a cheeseburger when I was on a trip with them unless we went to somewhere that specialized in burgers. I spent the rest of that trip eating lobster, crab and steak. Edit. Fixed fat finger mistake. Difficulty throwing things away. But we might be able to reuse this. For me, I have what I call poverty mentality. While I can afford new shoes and clothes, they have to be falling apart for me to replace. I will do something like go ahead and buy the new pair of shoes, but keep them stored until the current shoes become completely, 100% non-functional. I let my shoes get so bad one time that my friends offered to buy me a new pair. That made me feel bad. I have good friends. I grew up poor and my husband grew up middle class. Whenever we have guests, I am constantly asking people if they got enough food. Is anyone still hungry? I can make something else. My husband will inquire about the quality of the food and if it is to everyone's liking. I think when you grow up poor, food is very much quantity over quality. My fiance's parents grew up poor and they are so generous now, whether it's with food or gifts. They stock up on fruit and cookies I like before we visit. If I finish my plate before them, they'll offer me food off of their plate. They always make sure I have enough. Immense financial anxiety. Literally. I still get anxious when I spend money on literally anything, including bills and food, which are essentials. Still being marveled by an ice maker and side-by-side doors. I'm in a place in my life now where my fridge has 2 ice makers and I feel so fancy. Ice for days. No ice trays. In the US I'd say poor dental history or teeth dental work is a luxury. Overall, I'd say many hoarders grew up poor because they are so afraid of not having something if they'll need it, so they keep everything. I didn't grow up super poor, more lower middle class. We were not housing or food insecure, but there wasn't much for extras. As far as dental work, it was basically emergency only. I always thought that people who could afford braces were pretty well off. I paid for my own as an adult, and made sure that all of my kids had them. My older sister hasn't been so fortunate. She is missing a lot of teeth and has full bottom dentures. She would have to become very wealthy at this point in her life to overcome the damage that's already been done. To me, teeth are a status symbol in the US. People with straight, white teeth that are their own teeth are either lucky, or they have been able to pay for it. Realizing I wanted to have the house that all my kids' friends came over to hang out at because that wasn't really an option for big chunks of my childhood. Oof, I still don't have people over. I once had one of my rich best friend over for New Year's dinner. His living room and my entire apartment, including balcony, were the same size. I want that big house, but not too big because that makes me anxious for some reason. Lack of exposure to cultural events, missing out on experiences that others may take for granted, such as attending concerts, traveling, or participating in extracurricular activities. I think my personal favorite is all my friends asking me, what do you mean you've never been there? It's only an hour away, even traveling short distances is too much money. Will eat all of the food on their plate, even after feeling full because they can't waste food. This one is really difficult to break. For me at least. I wasn't in the know with all the cool Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon shows. But I did watch Arthur, Cybercase, Clifford and Dragon Tales. Those PBS shows were the best. Spending any windfall money. The bone deep certainty that money will just go away. There will always be another surprise bill or the car will break down. If you get some extra money, you buy the kids a trampoline because for once you don't have to say no, we can't afford that. I'm very glad to see this answer. I've seen a lot of I don't spend money because I never had it, and that's fine, but there's a very real backside to that same coin. I grew up pretty poor. As an adult I have an issue with spending money as soon as I get it because I'm afraid it'll go away. It's caused some tension between my wife and I at times. Like, I don't know if we will have the money later. I want to buy all the Pokémon cards for the kids while we have the money because they're really getting into it and my anxiety brain is afraid we won't have money to do it later. I have poverty toes. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, so shoes were worn until they died, regardless of fit. My toes are curled and with prominent knuckles from being scrunched into too small shoes. I blamed my mom for my fucked up toes from wearing shoes too narrow. Then I had kids, and what the hell, they came out with the same fucking toes having never worn a shoe in their short life. I owe my mom an apology. Turning down most social occasions. When I was particularly broke I pretty much had no social life due to the guilt of not being able to afford a round etc. A friend back in HS really got my back on this. It started with McDonald's. He'd ask if I was hungry, I said I didn't have any money and he's like, that's not what I asked. That was 2002. To this day he's always been like, hey, our Amstein is coming to Chicago, us tour 2022, you wanna go? And I was like, aren't tickets like $200? He replied with, I didn't ask you how much were the tickets, you wanna go or not? Lol. Still being poor. Great answer. The mental struggle to buy anything and not feel guilty. I will think about something that would improve my life for 3 months before I buy it, but I can impulsively buy food, alcohol, or something stupid in a heartbeat. When I was in elementary school a girl asked me why all my shirts were just solid color and not brand name logo shirts. Made me feel insecure. So I'm going to go with an obvious answer here, clothing and style. I still wear my clothes until they have holes and stains. I have the money to buy new brand name clothes, but why? I'm not trying to impress anyone. Deleted. One day my girlfriend asked me why I'm washing Ziploc bags. I told her so we can reuse them later. It was only after the following discussion and some thinking that I realized it's not very normal. I do this, mostly because it seems insane to me to keep throwing them away and buying new ones because a couple of breadcrumbs touch them. It's also more environmentally friendly. I only throw them away if they won't seal, break or had something smelly go bad in them. I even use them for storage. It might not be normal but it's very sensible. Just my abnormal opinion. In USMC recruit training we had a dude in our platoon who was homeless for an extended period of time before enlisting. Every morning at 0:30 the DIs would come and turn the light on, screaming, total chaos to wake us all up. Every single morning for the first 30 days or so of basic this dude slept right through it. Dude managed to sleep through good ol' lights. I hope he made guide. Deleted. Word to the wise for people who do this, like myself, the adhesive on the lid of Chick-fil-A sauces breaks down faster than other sauces like McDonald's, so store them accordingly unless you want Polynesian and Chick-fil-A sauce all over your other condiments. I grew up very poor, but now I'm doing quite well. I can't throw away shoes. I just accumulate athletic shoes. They go from running shoes to everyday shoes to working in the yard shoes. And then eventually my wife throws them away. I don't know why, but I can't do it. They are still good enough. I might need them one day. Edit. Thanks, all. But what if I might need to re-wear them someday? I could get my current shoes wet, or ruined, or they could wear out and fall apart. The old ones still have some life left in them. Fear of spending money on anything or having anything nice. Having duplicates of essentials. You develop a prepper mentality for every just-in-case situation. The amount of my shelf-stable pantry goods are 100% a result of this. Deleted. If you're not bleeding or unconscious, you're not going. My parents' thoughts on medical care growing up in rural Kansas. Missing teeth, and the other results of a lack of being able to go to the dentist. Currently dealing with an abscess due to years of non-existent dental care. Lots of Cool Whip and damp, country crock containers. Even though I now have money and things I want, I'm too scared to buy them because having money for bills and stuff is a luxury for me. Enjoying cinnamon, sugar, and butter on a slice of bread because we couldn't afford sweet treats. That was a damn delicacy. Only shopping in the clearance sections even after I grew up and started making good money. Honestly, I've lived around wealthy people and they shop clearance most of the time too. Lol. I feel like only new money or people who are trying to present themselves as rich buy things at full price or things that are priced exorbitantly. I was told recently I was crazy for using bread instead of hot dog buns. That's just something I always did as it's what we had. Burgers, hot dogs, all bread fellas. I find actual hot dog buns to be too much bread because of this. You guys got out of poverty? Middle poverty. We can buy store brand mac and cheese and are keeping our fingers crossed for the day we become upper poverty and are able to buy the real deal Kraft. Most of the time, people who were poor in childhood will be specially careful or stressed about money or expenses. Unless of course they are making a ton now, but if not, having been poor will make you more careful when using it. I know there might be other factors, but it certainly did happen to me this way. So my fiancé and I both grew up extremely poor, to the point I remember multiple winters without electricity. Fiancé turned out exactly like you said, super responsible with money, but for me that trauma manifested as spending any money I had as soon as I got it. It took years for me to break that cycle. Eats everything edible on a chicken wing, and I mean everything. I knew some guys who would break the bone and suck out the marrow. Someone asked me if my kid was going to do dance or gymnastics. I was confused as to why. Their response was, "Didn't you do it as a kid?" No, that cost money. I was lucky to play with a knockoff Barbie. Not just money, but being able to get there and home again because gas costs money and parents can't go out of their way or work it against their work schedules. I hoard money like a fucking ferret. To the point where I have anxiety spending money on necessities. My friend runs a foster home for kids in need. She keeps an anytime pantry for the kids to help themselves anytime they want. fruits and other healthy snacks. Anytime they want. I had the pleasure of splitting a banana with one of these kids. Made me so happy she does this. I'm tearing up typing this. This is to stop them from hoarding foods under the sheets of their bed. They still do it the first week or two. Wearing the same clothes often every day. A lot of kids that I've seen at school wear the same clothes quite often. They really enjoy the school lunch. My favorite kind of pizza is 7-11 pizza because it reminds me of school pizza. It's not rectangular but it has just the right mix of cheap cheese and sauce. Refilling your drink before leaving the fast food joint. Never ordering pasta or any meal in a restaurant that doesn't include meat or some type of tangible value for the cost. Even if I really want pasta, I just can't accept spending $20 on pasta that cost pennies, even when a date across the table from me is ordering pasta that I'm going to pay for, which doesn't bother me. It will still only bother me if I do it. I make well over 6 figures, grew up poor, and still do all of the things mentioned here by others. Buying duplicates of items on sale. Never paying full price for anything. Always ordering off a value menu or at a restaurant ordering items based on value rather than what I actually want. Even when I spend money on expensive items such as a home, motorcycle, luxury goods, I still have to go into it with getting the biggest bang for my buck rather than just going with what I want or feel. It's a difficult habit to break. Basically having to accept happiness and feelings are worth spending money on rather than the survival mindset of the long game. Getting excited when the temp dropped below 40 because that means we would get to go to bed with sleeping bags as well as blankets. It was super comfy to get bundled up and tell and read stories before sleeping. My dad made it an event for me and my brother. I realized as an adult that my parents couldn't afford to heat the apartment constantly. I still get pumped that first night put an extra comforter on the bed. Using hot dog buns to make garlic bread, butter plus garlic salt. We've got people in the comments using bread instead of hot dog buns, and now you're using hot dog buns for garlic bread? Poverty is confusing. Having a vast skill set, trust me, when you can't afford a repairman, hairdresser, seamstress, builder, roofer, welder, mechanic etc, you learn yourself. Funny, I always thought knowing how to repair electrical wiring, repaint, fix plumbing, replace carpets with vinyl plank flooring, fixing oven, microwave, fridge, dishwasher, garbage disposal, ceiling fans was a mark of the family being in the real estate management business. A big sign is that someone is capable of fixing almost anything. I'm doing quite well now, but I grew up in poverty. I'm a guy who can sew, fix an oven, replace a starter on a car, etc. I learned these skills because growing up, I didn't have a choice. There was no just buying new things when the old ones broke. Eating out a lot when they finally have money, treating every restaurant experience as an event. I went without food sometimes when I was growing up. It took a long time before I stopped hoarding food once I could afford it. My husband always commented on how long it would take me to go through the chocolate he would bring back from his international trips. I was always afraid it would be the last time we could get it and would make it last as long as humanly possible. I am quick to shut down spending and I am much better at saving money than my husband. I also keep our heat set at 63 for the day and I am usually the last in the neighborhood to turn on our air conditioning. I still shop sales and I don't understand things like renovating a perfectly fine kitchen just because you don't like the color of the countertop or cabinets. Deleted. Hoarding. Not the have 6 dead cats in your house hoarding, but the impulse to buy multiples of things just in case. Oh, this is on sale, let me buy a case of them just in case I might need it one day. It's a habit I've had to break myself. I distinctly remember what it feels like going without and I don't want to ever feel like that again. So if I have to buy pants or shoes that are 2 sizes too large but they're cheap, I will. Just in case. Yeah, I had this too, but it was more in the form of I can't get rid of this because I might need it later in the future. My husband helped me realize that this was a poor person thing from my childhood and that we have enough money to buy things if need be.